Here are the top stories for today, July 27, 2021. Sweet victory. The Philippines gets his first Olympic gold medal in nearly a century as Hidilyn Diaz rules the women's 55-kilogram weightlifting tilt at the Tokyo Olympics. Changing lives for the better, we listened to some reactions from various officials and sectors to President Rodrigo Duterte's final State of the Nation address. The president continues to maintain high approval and trust ratings despite the COVID-19 pandemic, according to the latest survey of a political consultancy firm. And the Department of Health assures that more local government units will get Pfizer vaccines as the country continues to hasten its COVID-19 vaccination drive. Good day, I am William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. And it is indeed a historic moment for our country. Nearly a century since it first joined the Olympics in 1924, the pursuit for the elusive gold medal finally ended for the Philippines thanks to Hidilyn Diaz. Diaz became the first Filipino athlete to win it all in an Olympic event. Marita Mawahe reports.
Right after the last SONA report of President Rodrigo Duterte, the country has been overwhelmed by reports that Hidilyn Diaz has won in the women's 55-kilogram weightlifting competition at the Tokyo International Forum in Japan, finishing tied with Diaz in the snatch with a 97-kilogram maximum lift. Liao lifted 126-kilogram, forcing Diaz to go for 127 to steal the top spot from Liao. Diaz, who also won the silver medal in the 2016 Rio Olympics, prevailed in a neck-and-neck showdown with China's Liao Chuyun in the clean and jerk lift. In a statement, the presidential spokesperson Harry Roque says the palace congratulates Diaz for bringing pride and glory to the Philippines for winning the country's first ever Olympic gold medal. PCO Secretary Martin Andanar, meanwhile, said Diaz's golden performance showcased the world-class talent of Filipino athletes. Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana and other ranking military leaders also expressed pride and lauded Diaz for her historic gold medal win. In a statement, Lorenzana said her success is a testament to the unwavering spirit of the Filipinos to rise above all odds. He said her One Defense team is proud of her. The Armed Forces of the Philippines also congratulated Diaz for bringing pride and glory to the military and the country, while the Philippine Air Force says Diaz personifies the diwa, galing at malasakit of members of the Air Force. On his Facebook page, Air Force Chief Lieutenant General Allen Paredes thanked Diaz for making the Philippine Air Force and the whole country proud. Diaz, who hails from Zamboanga, entered the Philippine Air Force as active personnel in 2013 and is currently organic personnel of its Civil Military Operations Group. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Mawahe.
President Rodrigo Duterte vowed to continue to push for landmark reforms until the last day of his term. During his State of the Nation address, the president enumerated the achievements of his administration as well as his stand on issues such as the West Philippine Sea dispute. President Rodrigo Duterte does not consider his sixth and last State of the Nation address as his swan song or final public performance. He said his determination was never dampened, knowing that his job as president is not yet over.
But this is by no means my swan song. I shall never cease to implore Congress to pass vital and critical legislation as well as to push the entire government to ensure nothing less than the full recovery and revitalization of our country. Indeed, the past 5 years have truly been challenging and humbling. Not once did I waver in doing the unpopular, even if it meant upholding the greatest good for the greatest number.
The president also admitted that he was upset upon learning that many government officials were involved in the illegal drug trade. In 2016, President Duterte identified 5 retired police generals: Marcelo Garbo, former Daan Bantayan Mayor Vicente Luot, Joel Pagdilao, Edgardo Tino, and Bernardo Diaz as protectors of the illegal drugs trade.
When I first said I will fight drugs in 6 months, I thought it was like in Davao. You can either coerce, intimidate, or bribe them, or give them money. Kaya yan ang sakit sa loob ko. I did not know that I was fighting my own government. Customs and everyone else were facilitating the importation of drugs.
Duterte also described government-wide corruption as endemic, acknowledging that he has yet to completely rid the government of dishonest officials and workers.
But corruption is endemic in government. You cannot stop corruption. Nobody can stop corruption unless you overturn government completely. If I were the next president, if you think there's really a need for you to change everybody in the system, then you declare martial law and fire everybody and allow the new generation to come in to work for government.
President Duterte, meanwhile, highlighted the comprehensive tax reform program under his term, resulting to hundreds of completed infrastructure projects.
Thanks to the comprehensive tax reform program that enabled us to fund critical infrastructure projects, today we can see the tangible results all around. MRT-3 no longer unloads passengers but to their destinations. The waiting time between trains had been significantly reduced. We have inaugurated new highways and roads and skyways. We have bought new trains, and these are a testament that we have greatly eased the grueling experience of traveling and commuting.
And lastly, the president emphasized that the Philippines' long-standing dispute with China in the West Philippine Sea can only be settled through diplomatic negotiations and not by force. He also reiterated his stance that he would never order his troops to launch a war against China.
We continue scaling our maritime domain awareness, defense capabilities, yet we will not close our doors on diplomacy and the tongue, because that is how disputes are settled and never by force. Make no mistake, rather. Gone are the days when the Philippines decides and acts in the shadows of the great powers. We will assert what is rightfully ours and fight for what is rightfully due to the Filipino people.
Several lawmakers lauded President Duterte for turning the dreams of many Filipinos into reality. House Majority Leader Martin Romualdez said most of the aspirations of the Filipinos have been achieved under his term, such as the free college education, healthcare coverage for all Filipinos, free irrigation, an autonomous government for the Bangsamoro, and peaceful communities with lower crime rates nationwide. Cavite Representative Elpidio Barzaga Jr. meanwhile said the president did a great job in bringing about meaningful change, particularly in the area of peace and order. For Albay Representative Joey Salceda, the historic legacies of his administration include socio-economic development, such as providing free tuition for students in state colleges, as well as the comprehensive tax reform program. Meanwhile, Surigao del Norte Representative Robert Ace Barber said he would push for the reopening of the case of 9 Philippine National Police generals who were allegedly involved in illegal drugs but have remained scot-free. Barbers is the current chair of the Committee on Dangerous Drugs. Local officials, business groups, and residents all expressed their support for the numerous programs and projects being implemented under the term of President Rodrigo Duterte. The details from Chris Mundo.
In Central Luzon, residents said President Rodrigo Duterte has successfully steered the nation during the past 5 years of his administration. They particularly cited the construction of various infrastructure projects in the region, his strong conviction against illegal drugs, and his commitment to getting rid of graft and corruption until the remaining year of his term. The people also thanked the president for implementing measures to contain COVID-19 and providing assistance for those who were adversely affected by the health crisis. Meanwhile, Mayor Evelio Leonardo said President Duterte deserves much credit for his accomplishments, whose programs and projects have largely benefited the people of Bacolod. Leonardo said aside from benefiting from infrastructure and social services projects, Bacolod has made major headway in the rollout of its COVID-19 vaccination program. In Negros Oriental, residents are hopeful that the remaining year of President Duterte's term would bring more programs and projects to further improve the economy. Among these are the e-governance law, amendment on foreign investments, and the creation of the National Task Force on Job Creations. Others, meanwhile, thanked the president for the free education, various road projects, and solving the decades-old communist terrorist insurgency in the province. Meanwhile, Antique Mayor Margarito Michon Jr. lauds the effort of President Rodrigo Duterte to bring peace and growth to his hometown through Executive Order 70, or the whole-of-nation approach against communist terrorist groups. Mayor Michon said former rebels in their municipality in San Remigio have received not only cash assistance but skills for livelihood training as they make their way back to normal and peaceful civilian life. And in Iloilo City, Mayor Jerry Treñas said the government's anti-drug campaign was a success as it made their communities safe from the drug lords' evil business and power. In terms of infrastructure, he said the Duterte administration was able to complete the projects started by his predecessors and even added more projects across the country through the Build program. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Mundo.
Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, the latest surveys show that President Rodrigo Duterte still gets high approval and trust scores ahead of the top 5 government officials. In an independent and non-commissioned survey made by Publicus Asia from July 13 to 19, the poll found that 58% of 1,500 Filipino respondents approved President Duterte's work performance, while 55% continue to trust the chief executive. PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar said Duterte's high approval and trust rating signify that Duterte has never become a lame duck.
Itong ating Pangulo ngayon ay isang Pangulo na napakataas ng kanyang popularity rating, acceptance rating, approval rating, more than 80%. So ito ay hindi pa na-experience ng ating bansa na magkaroon ng isang Pangulo na matatapos na lamang ang termino at napakataas pa rin ng approval rating at isang Pangulo na hindi naging lame duck.
Still to come, the Health Department says more LGUs will get Pfizer jabs. And the Department of Science and Technology lauds President Rodrigo Duterte's move pushing for the creation of a virology institute. Details ahead, this is the PNA Newsroom.
Ako po si Sergeant Munoz ng Philippine Air Force para sa kampanya na Disiplina Muna na pinangungunahan ng DILG. Proud po akong sabihin na bakunado na ako laban sa COVID-19. Kaya naman po panatag ang aking kalooban dahil alam ko na protektado ako at ang aking pamilya laban sa coronavirus. Bida ang may disiplina. Kaya naman magparehistro at magpabakuna na para sa ligtas na pamilya at ligtas na bayan.
Hi everyone, James Deacon here. The COVID-19 vaccines are finally here and the government wants to make sure the vaccines reach us. So let's do our part by making sure that we get registered to be included in the vaccination list of our LGU. You can register right in the comfort and safety of your own homes through your LGU's online registration platform. And you can also register on site in the vaccination venues or through your barangay. Remember, getting vaccinated is the first step towards ending this pandemic. So let's do our part as disciplined citizens. Bida ang may disiplina. Magpakarehistro, magpabakuna para sa ligtas na pamilya, ligtas na bayan.
As part of his final State of the Nation address, President Rodrigo Duterte on Monday urged local government units to speed up their respective COVID-19 vaccination drives. Duterte said the government is ready to further boost the country's daily vaccination rate with the continuous arrival of more vaccines. He stressed that it is now possible to survive, if not entirely defeat COVID-19 through science and medicines. While the government implemented health protocols to slow down the transmission of the virus, Duterte said the best solution is still vaccination. Ahead of Duterte's final SONA, Interior Secretary Eduardo Año said all government agencies are doing their best in terms of pandemic response. He also maintained the National Task Force Against COVID-19 and the LGUs play vital roles in preventing the spread of the virus in order to ease the country's healthcare utilization rate for COVID-19. The Philippines has so far administered a total of 17.2 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines as of Sunday. The latest batch of the government-procured Pfizer vaccines that arrived Monday evening will be sent to provinces now capable of handling jabs that require ultra-low temperature. This came after over 375,000 doses of U.S.-made Pfizer arrived at the NAIA Terminal 3 in Pasay City, the second tranche of the 40 million Pfizer vaccine purchased by the government. Undersecretary Maria Carolina Vidal-Taino said the Pfizer vaccines will be distributed to Metro Manila, Cebu, Davao, and others who have not yet received it. Davao region is expected to receive their additional doses this Tuesday. The latest vaccine arrival brings the country's total vaccine supply to over 31.3 million doses from 6 manufacturers. The Department of Health proved the efficacy of vaccination against COVID-19 as it reported 4 cases of fully vaccinated persons who contracted the highly transmissible Delta variant. Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergara said 4 of the total 109 Delta cases detected were fully protected with the required 2 doses of COVID-19 jabs. The 3 fully vaccinated ones were mild cases, while the other one was asymptomatic. 5 others have received 1 dose. Of the 3 deaths, 2 are unvaccinated. Vergara said this proves that being vaccinated gives added protection against the variants. On Sunday, the DOH reported a total of 55 new Delta variant cases. 37 of the 55 new cases were local cases, while the remaining 17 were returning overseas Filipinos and 1 case was under verification. Department of Science and Technology Secretary Fortunato de la Peña welcomed President Rodrigo Duterte's call for Congress to enact a law creating the Virology Science and Technology Institute of the Philippines. In his 6th and last State of the Nation address, Duterte endorsed the passage of a law creating the Center for Disease Prevention and Control and the Virology and Vaccine Institute of the Philippines. Duterte said he had sought for the creation of public entities dedicated to managing emerging and re-emerging diseases. De La Peña said they have the help of local experts who were DOST scholars and trainees, as well as Balik scientists and international partners. The VIP would be a premier research institute in virology and diseases in humans, animals, and plants. The DOST plans to start the VIP building construction next year. The agency also allocated some 284 million pesos for virology research and development. Negros Oriental and the capital city of Dumaguete have reported a downward trend in COVID-19 cases. The Provincial Interagency Task Force reported 82 new recoveries on July 24 and July 25. It also reported 44 new cases, which is much lower than the over 200 logged in a single day at the height of the surge of infections in the past months. As of July 26, Negros Oriental recorded over 10,000 total cases. In Dumaguete City, the number of cases also dropped following weeks of stricter quarantine due to an unprecedented surge in infections. The City Health Office has registered about 2,600 recoveries and 77 deaths since the start of the pandemic. The city has also inoculated nearly 15,000 eligible residents who received both Sinovac and AstraZeneca vaccines. Meanwhile, the Department of Health in Western Visayas has classified Aklan Province as high risk as 10 of its municipalities reported a surge in the number of COVID-19 cases. The Aklan Provincial Health Office on July 23 also confirmed 3 cases of the Beta variant and 2 Philippine variants. All cases have been tagged as recovered. On July 24, Aklan Governor Florencio Miraflores released an advisory reiterating for the strict observance and implementation of heightened restrictions and additional protocols and guidelines. Vaccination efforts against COVID-19 continued in several provinces, with authorities reaching out to more vulnerable sectors and expanding their vaccination capabilities. Marita Moahe has the story.
Overseas Filipino workers and seafarers in Ilocos Norte were prioritized in a mega vaccination drive on Monday at the Divine Word College of Laod. With over 4,800 doses of single-shot Johnson vaccine allotted to Laod residents from July 26 to 31, the city government assured there will be enough vaccines in the coming days. Filipino seafarers unions had requested President Rodrigo Duterte to allow sea-based OFWs to be vaccinated with Western-made COVID-19 vaccines. The seafarers said most international shipping companies prefer Western brands. In Cebu City, to bolster the COVID-19 vaccine rollout for senior citizens, Acting Mayor Michael Rama on Monday said the city government will open drive-through and hybrid mobile vaccination centers. At the sidelines of the rollout of the Johnson & Johnson vaccines, Rama said the city's vaccine board is working to raise the number of vaccination sites to 21. He said the board is also inviting public and private sectors to adopt a vaccination site to ensure continuity of the inoculation. On Monday, the city began inoculating senior citizens with the Johnson & Johnson vaccines after receiving 14,800 doses. In General Santos City, the local government has increased the capacity of its 2 newly established mega vaccination sites to accommodate more eligible individuals. The City Health Office deployed additional personnel and vaccine supplies to the vaccination sites at the Robinsons Mall and the City Fishport Complex. The CHO is targeting to cover around 1,000 individuals per day for each vaccination center. These are on top of those covered by their rural health units that average around 500 individuals per day. Last week, the city government received over 25,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccines from the national government. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Moahe.
Up next, areas in the Visayas and Mindanao under enhanced community quarantine will get cash aid from the DSWD. And the Dolomite Beach at the Manila Bay remains intact amid heavy rains. Back after a quick break, stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Si Mayor Richard Gomez po ito. Sa patuloy na pagharap natin sa COVID-19 pandemic, bawat isa ay bida at solusyon para wakasan ito. Huwag po tayo matakot magpabakuna dahil ito ay tiyak na proteksyon hindi lamang sa ating sarili, kundi pati sa ating pamilya, mahal natin sa buhay, komunidad. Kaya't magparehistro at magpabakuna para sa ligtas na pamilya, ligtas na bayan. Ang disiplinado na Pilipino, rehistrado at kailangan bakunado.
Paolo Medjones po para sa kampanyang Disiplina Muna na pinangungunahan ng DILG. Bakit ba kailangan magparehistro sa pagpapabakuna laban sa COVID-19? Mahalagang magparehistro dahil ito ang unang step sa pagpapabakuna laban sa COVID-19. May 3 pamamaraan upang makapagrehistro ang isang Pilipino na nais mabakunahan. Una, ang online registration sa inyong local government unit o LGU. Pangalawa, ang pagpunta sa mga vaccination centers at pagkuha ng registration form. At pakikipag-ugnayan sa mga pinuno ng barangay o sa mga barangay health center. Tandaan, online, sa mga vaccination site o sa mga barangay health centers ang pagpaparehistro sa pagpapabakuna kontra COVID-19. Muli ako po si Paolo Medjones, Disiplina Muna Ambassador na nagpapaalala, huwag matakot magpabakuna. Bida ang may disiplina. Magparehistro at magpabakuna para ligtas ang pamilya, ligtas ang bayan. Disiplinadong Pilipino ay rehistrado para maging bakunado.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, has approved the distribution of cash aid to local government units under enhanced community quarantine in Visayas and Mindanao. The DSWD, Department of National Defense, and the Department of the Interior and Local Government will assist Iloilo Province and Cagayan de Oro and Gingoog cities in Misamis Oriental. Each person will receive 1,000 pesos with a maximum amount of 4,000 pesos per family through the assistance to individuals in crisis situation of the DSWD. The targets may include previous beneficiaries of the Social Amelioration Program under Bayanihan 1 and Bayanihan 2, senior citizens or persons with disabilities and other vulnerable groups, and others who have been stranded by reason of employment. The beneficiaries must be physically residing or are still in the ECQ areas. The Office of the Provincial Agriculture in Antique will provide seedlings to farmers in 2 municipalities which reported crop damage due to the southwest monsoon. The OPA has made 1,200 bags of seedlings available as assistance to farmers. As of Monday, the OPA said the reported damage to crops in the town of Tobias, Fournier, and Valderrama has reached about 163,000 pesos. At least 9 hectares of rice fields were submerged in rainwater. The DA Regional Office approved the use of buffer stock as replanting materials, which is expected to be delivered to the farmers within this week. Other municipalities, including Sibalom, dubbed as the Rice Bowl of Antique, have yet to file their crop damage report. Authorities seized some 680,000 pesos worth of shabu from a convicted drug peddler and his cohort during a buy-bust at the parking lot of a convenience store in Barangay Muzon, City of San Jose del Monte, Bulacan, Sunday night. Bulacan Police Provincial Director Colonel Lawrence Cahipe, Provincial Director of the Bulacan Police Provincial Office, identified the suspects as Marlon Abarca and Ron Mark Reyes, both from Antipolo City. He said Abarca was previously arrested for illegal drugs but was released by virtue of plea bargaining. Aside from the drugs, police recovered 2 revolvers with live ammunition, a cellular phone, assorted IDs, a black Toyota Vios, and bundles of budol money. Meanwhile, police in Bacolod City and Negros Occidental seized over 300 million pesos worth of illegal drugs in the past 5 years as a result of the intensified war on drugs campaign of the Duterte administration. Data from the Bacolod City Police Office showed that from July 1st, 2016 to July 22nd, 2021, operatives have recovered over 18,000 grams of shabu and about 708 grams of marijuana. During the period, drug enforcement teams arrested over 3,500 persons. Operation Tokhang also led to the surrender of 4,250 individuals involved in drugs. On the other hand, the Negros Occidental Police Provincial Office recovered over 20,000 grams of shabu and nearly 13,000 grams of marijuana. Authorities arrested over 4,200 personalities, with 23 persons dying in police operations. Over 12,000 drug personalities surrendered under Oplan Tokhang. The so-called Dolomite Beach along Manila Bay's Baywalk area remains intact despite high tide and piles of trash at the height of the southwest monsoon, or habagat. Environment Secretary Roy Cimatu said the Dolomite sand has not been washed out and the Dolomite pebbles were only pushed to the perimeter of the beach area. Cimatu noted that high tide caused a huge amount of trash to be swept by waves, which accumulated in the area as habagat surged. He also ordered an inventory of all legally owned and operated fish pens, fish cages, and fish traps, as many of these devices washed ashore and accumulated in the Dolomite Beach. Meantime, Cimatu thanked all volunteers as well as river and estero rangers who are helping rehabilitate Manila Bay by cleaning the Baywalk area and Baseco Beach. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. Sweet victory, the Philippines gets his first Olympic gold medal in nearly a century as Hidilyn Diaz rules the women's 55-kilogram weightlifting tilt at the Tokyo Olympics. Changing lives for the better, we listened to some reactions from various officials and sectors to President Rodrigo Duterte's final State of the Nation address. The president continues to maintain high approval and trust ratings despite the COVID-19 pandemic, according to the latest survey of a political consultancy firm. And the Department of Health assures that more local government units will get Pfizer vaccines as the country continues to hasten its COVID-19 vaccination drive. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear your face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day.